Cheers. Hey, guys. Hey, my water's a little darker. I don't know what it is.
I have a filter. Cleans it right up.
Crasberry cream ale from Big Tide Brewing. That's a little place, right? You walk in, it's a little restaurant and a bar, and they brew their own stuff right there on site, can it and everything right in the spot. So just in St. John, New Brunswick. It's actually pretty good stuff, too. And they brew their own stuff.
Whoops.
Oh, there we go.
I'm trying to get the live chat going because I can't ever comment in StreamYard.
Oh, okay. No, because see, you have to be in the control. Like when you and Stu have it on together, you guys can both comment within StreamYard. But that's what I talked about with you before. For us to do that, you would have to be changing the codes on your StreamYards all the time, back and forth, to go back and forth between the two, and it would screw up Stuart when he went to do it on Wednesday nights, and we'd all have to switch them. So it was easier just to do it this way.
Yeah, I just pulled the live chat and I'm done. Perfect.
Whereas I could comment on the live chat right from within StreamYard too. So a little lesson on StreamYard etiquette or StreamYard, the way it works. So how are you guys tonight? How's everybody? See, Jeff and Lance are there. I guess first question tonight, we're going to talk about WrestleMania 37, although they didn't call it that. Did you notice that, Jeff?
I did notice that. I kept wondering. I was like, why aren't they calling it by a number? They just said WrestleMania.
I think they started that last year. They got rid of the numbers, and they haven't even gone to like a year or anything yet. Yeah.
I wonder why they changed that.
Yeah, well, I guess at a certain point, the numbers sort of become more of a symbol of being old and makes it less sort of special. You know what I mean? In my mind, whereas just now they just call it WrestleMania, but anybody who sort of tracks it knows what number it is, right?
It was really interesting watching because I was thinking, because I watched wrestling a ton in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And, well, I guess the 80s. And then, because I started falling off around WrestleMania 3 or so.
Okay.
And then I just kind of, I know a lot of the popular wrestlers' names from in that era, right? I missed, which is a huge time. You're talking probably 25, 30 years. But it's just interesting watching it now compared to when I watched it kind of the last time, back in the 80s, how completely different everything is. Even to the point of, I don't remember, I've seen a slide, I don't remember wrestlers when it's a near pin and the wrestler's like, he's all like, he's like amazed, he can't believe he didn't get the pin. Or the women's matches, some of the women are almost like in tears. I'm like, I've seen them get upset before in the past, but that seems like it's something new that they've.
It just changes, I don't know. It's like it's lost the cartoon style. There's something to be. It's such a major change ever since they lost the kayfabe. I mean, everybody knows that it's sort of, that it's fiction. It's predetermined for the most part, right? Everybody knows that. And they don't try to hide that fact anymore. So it's just all part of the show. So now they're trying to embellish the show as opposed to make a false reality. Do you know what I'm saying? I think it just sort of attributes to that a little bit.
The other thing I noticed is I feel like some of the moves are a little bit more real. Like some of these kicks to the face, I can hear the boot popping against the face. And usually like in the old times, they like hit somebody and they're pounding the ground as they hit them. Yeah. And they're not really hitting them that hard. But some of these, and plus you see welts on the guys' backs. I mean, they're getting hit. And that seems like they take more of a beating today than they used to.
Well, to a degree, I think you might be right. They're expected to take more actual physical abuse maybe than before. Did you notice there was one match, and we'll say this real quick. It's that who was it got whipped? Oh, Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks.
With the hair.
That was nasty. That was nasty.
And I said, if that was a fake welt, they did a damn good job putting it on her somehow where we didn't see it.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I was like, I'm not sure how she could do a fake welt that quickly.
Yeah. Because it made a big snap when it hit her. Her hair,
like stuff like that. It's like, I don't remember that. I mean, there was times when guys got hit back then, but I feel like they take more of a beating today.
Yeah, I don't know. It's Also, I think another thing that attributes to that a little bit is the what MMA has done to the whole business. Because now you hear about wrestlers going back and forth to MMA and coming back, and then there's MMA stars which come in, like Riddle. It was a big MMA star, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now he's a wrestler because it is easier on them than MMA, obviously, because they're not literally trying to beat the crap out of each other. They're just trying to put on a show where it looks like they're beating the crap out of each other. And if they have some physicality in there, they do. But I don't know. I think that they were hurt just as much back in the day. It was just a different type of show. And
I think back then a lot of the guys were hurting themselves, like for blood, because you heard about how they keep razor blades in their wristbands, and they'd literally, like if they were down outside the mat or outside the ring, they just slice their head.
Blading. Yeah.
When you look at like Bruiser Brody or Abdul the Butcher, their heads, their foreheads, they're just nothing but scars, and that's what they were doing. They're scarring themselves. So yeah, I mean
that's still pretty prominent nowadays too, except for WWE has banned it, right? They're not allowed to do it. Watched a great show. I tell you, I get into it after WrestleMania the second night. Afterwards was the Stone Cold Sessions, I think it's called. Stone Cold Steve Austin's interviews
and Broken Skull Sessions.
Broken Skull Sessions, yeah. And the big thing coming into it, I knew it was happening, was he had Chris Jericho on, and that was really controversial. Where Jericho, who was gone, come back and joined AEW, the big rivalry, right? And they explained how it sort of happened that they're buddies, Austin and Jericho, and they were talking one night and say, "Hey, you should come on the show." And Austin texted McMahon, and McMahon said, "Yeah, that's a great idea. Do it." So there it was. So I watched that show, and I got watching. I had to watch this one right here, Bret Hart, right? And this is what we're talking about hurting themselves and blading and stuff. And one of the things they talked about a lot when the Bret Hart episode was WrestleMania 13. And, of course, their big submission match that they had where Austin lost. He passed out due to the sharpshooter, but he had bladed, and blading was even prohibited then, but they sort of did it on their own, and ended up being one of the most instrumental parts of both of their careers. With Bret turning heel and Austin really getting over babyface as a tough guy. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and one thing they both said is of all the matches that they fought, the submission matches are some of the hardest because you can't have the big suspense of the fake the short 2 count. You can't have those big things to get the crowd going. And physically, they're quite hard. But at the end of the day, when they wrestle the way they do, they show clips on there where they're literally, one was pounding on the other one, and the one would say, "You know what? You did a great job there because I didn't even feel a thing." Well, this is what we're talking about, right? And they both said afterwards, "This is beautiful because we have one of the biggest matches that people still talk about today, 24 years later, that took Austin especially, but Bret as well. And Bret was already there, but brought Austin from here to here. And an amazingly influential match. And they both said the same thing. They usually went home from a match the day after a pay-per-view, and they could hardly move. And after that one, they were both walking around, felt just fine. Wow. Because they were so good with each other, right? But you can't see that. You watch the match, they're brutal. They're brutalizing each other. They knew what they were doing. So
you mentioned Steve Austin called McMahon. Is his podcast, is that a WWE?
That's on you can get many of those episodes right on Peacock right now.
Okay.
Stone Cold Sessions. It's not just a podcast, it's all video too, right? And they're exceptional. If you haven't had the opportunity to see it,
I saw one he did with Undertaker.
Okay, yeah.
And that was interesting. I saw the Undertaker's first. I was just going through YouTube a few weeks ago, just randomly looking for stuff. And I started looking for Undertaker stuff, and I saw the first match he had. And I forgot what his name was. Oh, his first match was against Bruiser Brody.
As a kid?
Huh?
Mean Mark Callis?
Yeah.
Mean Mark. His name's Mark Callis.
Yeah, I think it was Mean Mark.
Yeah.
Is what it was. But Brody just tore him up. It was hilarious. It was just, he looked like he didn't want any part of this guy. It almost seemed like maybe the Undertaker had pissed him off before the match because he was new. Maybe he said something to him, and Brody just destroyed him. And I was wondering about about that too last night, where I mean, we all know that the outcome is predetermined,
right?
But how do they, like, if you have a match that's 20 minutes long or 15 minutes long, how much of that is choreographed? I mean, do they?
It all sort of depends. It really depends on the wrestler and their styles and
God,
how
it seems
much
like
they
it's
work
so hard to
together. Usually, it's not a matter. They usually have a. The vast majority will have a beginning, like how much time they're going to spend, a swing. They'll have a lot of calling in the ring about next move and stuff like that. They'll know basically where they're going to take it, and they're going to know what their finish is going to be. Okay. Then you had your other ones, like what they always said about Macho Man Savage is he was a fanatic, and he outlined every single move of every single match and rehearsed it with the people and made them memorize it as well. Like WrestleMania 3, the big match with Ricky Steamboat, right? Like they knew every bump going on when it was going to come in the match and everything. It was just that was his style. But for the most part, when you're good, somebody like Bret Hart could take anybody into the ring and basically just call it on the fly and make it work. You know,
that's I think that's the real skill of the professional wrestlers, because it seems amazing to be able to do that, because that's a long time. It's not like I can't imagine you could have that much choreographed. I guess maybe some guys can, but that's a lot.
Yeah, though that's why they work these house shows together for some weeks, usually building up to these matches, right?
And I'm sure sometimes things just don't work out.
No, it's true.
Yeah, you expect like something might trip and fall. Like we were talking about, was it the first WrestleMania? Wait a minute. Which WrestleMania was it where Bundy took on SD Jones? Was that the first one?
That was the first one, yeah.
Yeah, because I had read that SD Jones made a mistake. He tripped and fell, and when he was supposed to fall right in front of Bundy.
Yeah.
So they had to. Yeah. He had to take another hit.
That's funny. You told me about that before. Like, I don't remember hearing that, but SD Jones, at that time, there's a reason they had SD Jones in there, because they trusted him. Like, that was his role. He did that for tons of different people over the years. He was a really highly respected wrestler. He was a jobber, kind of like your Barry Horowitz and your, what the place is named, the Brooklyn Brawler there, Steve Lombardi. But at the end of the day, they were well-respected wrestlers that the faces or the top dogs, whoever it would be, that whether they were wrestling heel or wrestling face, they liked to wrestle against them because they could get over with them. They would put them over well. So that was, I think they were respected quite well in the back.
And some of them, because I had heard a lot of the wrestlers hated Ultimate Warrior because they said he was kind of crazy. Like he would hurt people at times. Like he wouldn't do the moves right. And so nobody wanted to wrestle him because, I mean, if you think you're going to get hurt in this match, what? So that's part of the deal is you got to be really good at pulling off these moves.
He couldn't wrestle.
He
believed the hype.
I think it was Undertaker who said somebody put him in a pile driver. I forgot who it was, but he didn't get his head high enough. So when he dropped down, Undertaker really did drive his head right into the mat.
Yes.
And he was hurt pretty bad from that.
The Undertaker, yeah. I don't remember hearing that about the Undertaker, but I mean a big if you happen to watch the Bret Hart on Peacock, I recommend you do, because it's really kind of very, very interesting to watch. And it was the earliest one available when I watch it. So if you watch it, you might not want to wait too long. But anyway, one of the things they talk about was the big accident that Owen had with Steve Austin, because Owen botched a pile driver. One of the reasons there's no more pile drivers.
I'm completely wrong with
Stinger.
I'm completely wrong with the Undertaker. It was Steve Austin was telling the story about that exact move.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was.
Yeah, that was brutal. It's scary. It's okay to watch now because you know the outcome.
Yeah.
But at the time, it had to have freaked out a lot of people because it gave him what they call a stinger, right? And he didn't have a broken neck, but it's kind of in a ways it was. He hit and compacted his vertebrae. It pinched his spinal cord, and he just basically lost motor control. He could move, but this is how he could move. And here he was in the match, and he was supposed to finish the match, do a stunner, all that stuff. And they talk about how Owen did exactly the right thing afterwards with getting off him, and they got him the break, and they got an ending to the match. But Austin talks about how he said, I just said to the referee, roll up for the win. And because tell Owen, roll up for the win. They had to get out of there. Right. And Austin had to win that match. So it was the most pathetic thing you've ever seen, but you totally understand why. Right. And flipped him down. He rolled over, sort of grabbed him by the back of the knee, pulled him down. Owen went over and he just sort of leaned on him and he got the pin and they got out of there. But Austin couldn't walk. It was that bad. It was scary. Have you seen it? Have you seen it before?
I did, because was that on his the Broken Skulls? I did remember seeing that because he was talking about that's the one where he said Owen Hart had his head too low.
Yep.
When he started, and Austin said as soon as he started to go for the pile driver, he knew he was in trouble because his head was not where it should be.
Yep. If you watch it now, you can see where his head is sticking out behind. Like, basically, you shouldn't really be able to see the head coming out behind the back of the legs. Okay, and top of Austin's head, probably that much was out behind his legs. So, bang, right on it. It was scary. It was scary. I mean, he's fine, but he was hurt for a long time. They don't do pile drivers anymore. A tombstone pile driver even is very rare with Kane and Undertaker.
I was just going to ask you that because, like I said, I just got back into wrestling 2 months ago maybe, and I don't really see pile drivers anymore. It seems like the big one is the Steve Austin move,
Stunner.
The stunner is that, or like a variation of it. You see it where I think it's easier to control.
Yeah.
Like it's easier, especially for the other wrestler to make sure he doesn't conk his head.
They allowed, under special circumstances, they will allow it to be done. They'll pre-clear it because with the right practice, and they have to really trust the person. But you can't casually throw one into a match. Any of them. But the Undertaker and Kane, obviously, they had always done it. They still did it on occasion, but very rarely do you see them now. Very rarely.
I was curious if they got rid of it just because it's so dangerous. I mean, it doesn't take much to miss it,
and you go online, there's a few different places online. Like What Culture Wrestling is one that I really like. It's out of England, as far as just.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Have you? And
the YouTube show.
Huh?
A YouTube show?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also Wrestlemania I kind of like too. But anyway, you'll find some top 10 lists on there, like top 10 moves banned by the WWE, and they'll talk about them and why. And people who've been hurt with them, and they're good. What Culture Wrestling, and they all did a what culture, all kinds of things, video games and everything. I like that channel a lot.
It was one of the channels. There was some wrestling channel watching today regarding it. Oh, Perry.
It's Perry. Hey, Perry, you're awake. You were asleep back behind on the couch.
You were sleeping behind me earlier, Perry.
They forced her awake.
Is she like, you let her sleep all day? She'll be up all night? Mr. Paul Orndorff had a mean look at pile driver. He did. He was good at it back in the day. And he used to get a good jump, but he was soft on people. He knew how to do it. He was excellent at it. I don't know that he hurt anybody with it. Owen just happened to hurt. So many people get hurt over the years with them.
And I've heard Orndorff talk about being a professional wrestler because he didn't like the guys who were kind of a little bit unhinged. He wanted the guys, when they did their moves like him, he wanted to make sure that they did them correctly, not like the pile driver. You can't mess that one up.
Nope, you're going to hurt. And that's what you sort of talk about the difference between back then and today. You got to kind of wonder. Some of them just seem really off the rails today. But then you see some of the backstage stuff and you think they aren't. But the characters they play are really unhinged, And Ultimate Warrior, nobody cared for the Ultimate Warrior because Ultimate Warrior didn't have a very good definition between reality and his character. Right down to the point where after he was retired and stuff, he legally changed his name to Warrior. He was, and when he did his Hall of Fame thing, that was him. That was the real Warrior. And it wasn't that far off of his character that he played way back then. He morphed into his character. And
that's interesting.
It was kind of scary. And there's also this tape or this DVD that was out in the probably late 90s. It might have been the 2000s, called the Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, or the something like that, by WWE. And it's very interesting. It's very, I mean, it's one-sided. It's a pretty negative tale, let me tell you that. And that's what sort of, you see something like that, sort of surprised that he came back and went to the Hall of Fame. But, you know.
Yeah, I did notice watching, you mentioned earlier about cartoony, where I feel like in the 80s when WrestleMania was getting going in the mid-80s there, that there were a lot more cartoony type people. You know, Hulk Hogan seems kind of cartoony, like a Sergeant Slaughter type character, or the Iron Sheik.
Yes.
And that's one thing I kind of miss on WrestleMania this time around, is most of the guys were just kind of their characters of being a badass. You know, they didn't have any special gimmicks, and I guess maybe people don't like that anymore. But I always liked it when I was younger. I thought it was kind of funny.
Oh yeah,
because you know the storylines are all made up anyway, so it kind of adds to the.
It was good guys versus bad guys. It was a soap opera for men. It wasn't trying to be reality. Whereas now it seems like they're trying to be somewhat. Everything's got a realistic twinge to it. I mean,
did notice too that wrestlers seem to use.
Beware. I mean, for Pete's sakes.
I feel like watching recently. It seems like the wrestlers use the ropes a lot more. You know, not just like running and bouncing off them, but you know, doing a suplex where they drop the guy on the rope and he bounces off. Especially with the women, you see that move where they kind of jump through the ropes and grab it and swing around and hit them.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
I've never saw that move in the 80s.
No, I mean, if you look back at the 50s and 60s, it was all ground wrestling and holds, and then come the 70s and 80s, it started being more punches and kicks and slams, and then the 90s and the 2000s, it started to be a bit more flair with the punches and the kicks and the slams, and a little bit of high flying stuff. And now in the 2010s up till today, it's become much more high flying and shocking moves per se, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's like, where's it going? What's going to happen next? They're going to have to, I don't know.
It is.
They're going to kill themselves.
I mean, it is noticeably different from today, from years ago.
Yeah.
Because there used to be more. I mean, you can go several matches without seeing a wrestling move. You know,
yes, you can.
You know, Drew McIntyre and
Bobby Lashley.
Well, in Raw before this, the Irish guy,
okay.
Sheamus.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I saw a single wrestling move in the whole thing. It was just punches and kicks and throws.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still fun to watch, but when you sit back and look at it, like, wow, this is nothing the way it was.
No.
Even the early days of WWF, when they started getting kind of crazy, you know, way more than say like the NWA, there were still wrestling moves going on there.
Agreed. And I'm going to tell you this right now, though. It's like we've talked about how I love the stuff from the 80s, 90s, right up to around 2005 or 6 or 10 or whatever like that. That era. And I haven't watched it much the last 10 years, but I did enjoy that Sunday night. And I do enjoy watching usually the Royal Rumbles, and I enjoy watching WrestleManias. I haven't missed any, I don't think. Even last year's when there was no fans, it was kind of really strange. But I don't know. You know, it's like I don't want to get back into it like I was, because I went years without missing Raw. And there was a period of time where Monday night was Raw, and up here they showed Nitro on Tuesday night because the same channel showed them in Canada. Then Wednesday night was SmackDown, and then Thursday night was Thunder. So 4 nights a week, there was 2 or 3 hours of wrestling on TV. I used to watch all of them, for Pete's sake, so I was right into it back then.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fun watching this WrestleMania. I mean, which is a little surprising because I haven't really paid much attention for years, but
you
I didn't expect to like it that much, but it was fun.
But if we get into watching wrestling that much every night again too, we'll have to quit streaming.
And maybe get divorced as well.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Why is streaming better than watching wrestling? She can watch whatever she wants while you're streaming, right?
I was watching the Raw before WrestleMania just by 4 hours ago. We were watching. She goes, "Are you watching wrestling again?" I was like, I'm trying to get caught up. I wanted to see what led, because I saw the match where, and I can't think of the name of it, where Drew McIntyre, there was like, what, 5 or 6 guys, and they would come in one at a time. Or was it the one where they came out of the corners? I can't remember.
Oh, Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, and he and his title was up for that, which is like, who does that? But he ended up winning, and then Bobby Lashley, is that his name? Lashley came out and just beat him up, and I'm like, why is he beating him up? I didn't know his storyline. And then was it the Miz came out with his money and took the belt, but then I saw when WrestleMania was announced, or when they were showing the matches, it was Bobby Lashley as the champion. I was like, wait a minute, what happened to the Miz? I was like, that was just like 2 weeks ago. So that's why I was trying to watch last week's Raw so I could figure out what the heck happened.
Did you? I really don't know. I have no idea what went on.
Well, apparently the storyline was the Miz, I think, asked Lashley to come in and beat up McIntyre after the match so that he could take the championship.
Okay.
And apparently Lashley was not happy. I guess maybe he didn't get his payment or whatever. I don't know what the story was, but then during Raw, the Miz was forced to wrestle Lashley for the championship because of apparently he owed him that. I don't know, but that's when he lost it, I suppose, is during that.
Let's we're a half hour in. We haven't gotten to match number 1 yet. But that's all right. Good talk. And Lance, just I put that up there. The early 90s Royal Rumbles are worth a look. Oh, I love them. Those are fantastic. And right up through the 90s and 2000s, really. The Royal Rumble is one of my favorite match to watch. I can watch all those over and over.
Is Vince McMahon sick? I mean, I know he's very old, but he looked like he was maybe very sick last night when I saw him. I don't know. He looked kind of gaunt and
yes. Oh, excuse me. I think what looked like to me is he had a little bit too much Botox.
No, that could be it too. I mean, I don't know how that affects you later on in life, but again, he is isn't he like around 80 now?
He should be right around 80. I can double check that actually. I should check that. Lance, how old's Vince McMahon?
Hey, Caper Dave's here.
Caper Dave. Good to see you, man. It looked like he had work done. Same here. Exactly what I thought when I first saw him. And Christy and I actually sat and watched the whole thing. She likes it too, once in a while, not like I do, but we sat and watched. And actually, MJ, she wanted to watch it all too. So we watched it. She was really looking forward to Haxuna versus Rhea Ripley. She likes Haxuna. And so we all sat and watched it. When he came out there and did that speech, like, wow, look at him. He looks plastic. I never did find out how old he was. Just a second.
Well, actually, Silly watched the whole thing with me too. She was really enjoying the. She was really enjoying the Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, and who was the third guy?
Edge and Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns.
Oh yeah, those three. Yeah. I got quite a few things to say about.
75 years old.
Oh, that's it? Why? I thought he was in his 80s already.
He'll be 76 in August. Yeah.
So is his son, is Shane now older than Vince McMahon was when WrestleMania started?
Oh, yeah. Because it's 37 years ago, so he would have been 38, right? Vince McMahon was in his late 30s when it started.
Wow. Yeah, I guess he was.
And Shane's 51. So, yeah.
Man, they must love getting in the action. I think I'd be happy enough just to take the billions of dollars and.
Well, I'm only a year older than Shane McMahon, and I really don't want to get beat up by Braun Strowman. On that note, let's go to the matches.
Yeah, that match that had one of my favorite moments of the whole night. So we'll get to that.
Right now, we'll get to it. So match number 1, and we'll go through it pretty quick. I don't have pictures or anything tonight, guys. But is there who in the chat here actually got to see the?
Oh yeah, did anyone else watch?
Did anybody else watch it? Lance, Dave, Jeff, you still there? Yeah, Jeff says he watches those on Peacock, those Stone Cold sessions. So you check that out, Jeff.
I've seen them on there. I haven't watched them there. I've seen a couple, I think, on YouTube.
Okay, yeah.
But I haven't watched them through Peacock yet.
That Jericho one ticked me off because, of course, WrestleMania went a little long, and then it was on afterwards, so I hit my button and recorded it, right? I watched it yesterday afternoon or yesterday evening, and I don't know how much was left, but because it was sort of the timing was thrown off, they cut off the recording before it was over. So I got to catch it again. Ticked me off.
And how about this? Before the match even started, a rain delay.
Oh, my God. Yeah, really. They've had all kinds of matches there. Like all kinds of matches outdoors. And it's the first time I've ever seen a friggin' rain delay. Did you notice that they actually cleared all the fans right out? Because when they started at the very start of the show and they sort of all the announcements, they were surrounded by people. And then 10 minutes later, you look behind them, there was nobody. They were all gone. They cleared them all out. So you imagine how much of a pain that would have been to get everybody out of there and then back in.
I know.
It's because of lightning, gang. It's because of lightning.
And I don't know if it was maybe my sound system here, but I didn't feel like the crowd was – I couldn't hear the crowd very well. Like I couldn't hear like a whole bunch of cheering or anything.
Well,
it seemed like it was more muffled. I don't know if that was by design or maybe it was just something on my end. I don't know.
They were allowed 25,000 people in for and the stadium probably holds what, 60,000?
Oh, what did they have in the seats? Because on the long shots, it looked like the stadium was packed.
It wasn't. It was. They were allowed 25,000 people.
All right. Well, that explains why I didn't hear the crowd as much as I thought.
A lot of the crowd noise I sort of read afterwards that you could hear on TV and stuff was still canned crowd noise. So that canned crowd noise sounds different anyway, right? So, it was what it was. So what you think about this first match? I mean, what a way to start off with the championship match. What was this? This was for the WWE Championship. First match.
What a strange way to start, isn't it? You'd think this would be like the big headliner, but it was the first one out of the gate.
They played something off, like Drew McIntyre won his championship in the grand finale last year, and since he didn't get to do it in front of any fans, he wanted to lead off WrestleMania this year. This is what they said. But at the end of the day, I think I'm not saying it was the wrong decision to put them first either. First of all, it's a weird decision, but it's not. I'm not saying it's a bad one. I think they just wanted a real big name match to start the show, and they didn't have as much faith in this match capturing the crowd as they did some other things later on. And plus, it being a 2-night show, they had to. It's sort of hard. They wanted to start big and end big, so they started with the men's championship and they ended with the men's championship.
I kind of thought McIntyre was going to win this. I thought maybe they'd because the whole thing with no crowd while he was the champion. I thought maybe they'd allow him to get it back and do it. But I guess the storyline is that Lashley is the big guy now to lead him into this next year here. Yeah, and
man,
these guys are huge, aren't they?
Oh, behemoths. But Drew McIntyre I never thought was like back when he came in and he was very young, but he left the first time. He was gone for 2 or 3 years, and he went over back to England or something and just friggin' tore the place up, like buffed all up. And they said, "What are you doing letting him go? He's something else." This is when they brought him back, and they've used him as a top dog ever since. But his physique has improved incredibly as well.
Well, he's bulky. I mean, he's not like over bulky like no. Lashley. He's just kind of like humongous. But
yes,
McIntyre is also really tall. I didn't realize how tall he was. So he's standing against some of these people. I've got 2 baby squirrels running around playing on our deck right here.
That's hilarious.
They're just rolling around, having a great time, making all kind of noise. I thought that was a good match. I was kind of hoping McIntyre would win. Just because I haven't, like I said, I really haven't seen much of him. But from what I've seen, he seems like kind of a real badass out there.
But McIntyre, I like McIntyre because I like him on the mic too. I think he's very charismatic. Bobby Lashley's has been around a long time, man. He's been around a long time. He went to MMA for a while, come back, and he's huge. And he's a good wrestler, very good wrestler. But he's not great on the mic. He's almost always has to have somebody with him. I'm having a brain fart here. Who was with him in his match? Do you remember?
Is that his manager, the guy with the cane?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I don't even know his name.
Oh shoot, I gotta.
Isn't there like 3 wrestlers and then the manager?
Oh yeah, that's MVP. MVP was with him. Yeah. Who was a wrestler a few years ago. He was older and he was pretty good. Yeah, MVP. But he always has to have, MVP is a very good speaker. But he's the type of guy always has to have somebody with him to do the talking for him. Kind of like Brock Lesnar needed Paul Heyman with him. Kind of like, we talked about it before. Brutus Beefcake needed Johnny Valiant with him when he started. Stuff like that. Well, Bobby Lashley has never not needed somebody with him.
He's been around for like 16 years, so I'm guessing if he's not a great speaker at this point, he's not going to be. Which then kind of makes you wonder why they wanted him to be champion. You know, if you don't have the personality
and he is that good of a wrestler. He is that good of a wrestler.
He's a tough guy.
Like he's more than just a behemoth who is huge, is going to bang and thrash. He can wrestle. He can put moves on. He's not a high flyer, obviously. He's not a cruiserweight, but he can put on a great match with people. I really think he has their respect.
Remember the Cheers episode when Cliff was on Jeopardy and his final answer was who are 3 people who've never been in my kitchen?
Oh yeah.
Well, my answer would be who are 2 people I would not want to have to get into a fight with because those guys are enormous.
Yeah, I hear you. Holy cow. So next up, and I'm going to address I lost here. There. The women's tag team gauntlet match was the next thing. I didn't bother to list out all the people because I didn't. Good God, I don't know if I could. But look at this. I have a list I can share here in a second. But I want to go back and look at a comment that was made. What do you think about this? Dave's comment. Do you prefer the 2-night presentation or would you rather only 1 night like it used to be?
I think I'd rather just have 1 night. Because it takes up your whole weekend, like your whole night part of the weekend.
I agree.
Is this the first time they've done this?
Second?
Was last year the first?
Well,
so I guess this is what they're doing from now on. I don't know. I'd rather just did 1 night.
I'm going to tell you this right now. You know why? Like pay-per-views used to be 2 hours, then they were 3 hours. WrestleMania was 3 hours. Then WrestleMania was 4 hours. And I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, like not last year, but the year before was the last year that it was 1 night, Sunday night. And my Jesus, it lasted from 8. It started at my time at 8 o'clock, so 7 o'clock Eastern. Plus, they had an hour pre-show with a couple matches. It started at 7 my time, and it didn't get over till about 1:45 in the morning. It was almost 6 hours long before they got everything in. And then they said that was the big complaint that year, that this is crazy. This is way, way too long. But they have so many people that need that spot. They want that spot at WrestleMania. And it's the big event of the year. That's why they split it. So I would rather it be on 1 night. But I'll tell you this, if they're going to have 1 night that's 6 hours long, that sucked. Because by the end of it, I think it was actually, the truth, I think it was the last long, long night. They had it in New Jersey at the Meadowlands. New York, New Jersey. On the Jersey side where the Giants and Jets play. And the crowd was just full crowd, full house. And they were just exhausted by the end of it, so they didn't even cheer the last match. They were so tired. So that's the honest truth. So
I certainly don't want that. I guess, do they just have that many wrestlers that they need to get in? I mean, is that many more wrestlers than there were back in the 80s and 90s?
I guess there's more obligations to get them in contractually.
But don't they have more pay-per-views where they can kind of spread out everything?
Yeah, but I don't know. I really don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to go like over 3 hours because that gets a bit much.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were absolutely brutal at the last one, which I think that one in New York in 2018 or 19 was wicked. And the funny thing, I told you, just so you guys know, I had actually sent a message to a fella who is from here in Atlantic, Canada, but he's really into wrestling. And maybe if we ever do a show on some of our local promos, like if we ever do one on St. Louis Wrestling Club, a show on that, and which Jeff will get some people involved. This is a fellow who's a real expert on Atlantic Grand Prix wrestling, huge wrestling fan. Unfortunately, I didn't hear back. Didn't think of it soon enough. Didn't hear back from him. Didn't come on with us tonight. But he went down to that match. He went down and saw that one in New York, New Jersey, so he could give us sort of a firsthand impression of what it was like there that day. But man, I was exhausted watching it at home. I just wanted to go to bed. I couldn't imagine I'd been there, and then had to fight my way back through traffic to get back to hotels and stuff. I heard that was brutal too. People weren't getting out of that place at home until morning. It was so bad, so far away from everything. People staying in New York, right?
I just wrote down the name of Larry Matisick. He was the announcer here in St. Louis for Wrestling at the Chase. That was our big Sunday morning wrestling. I'm curious if he's still around or if he would be interested in doing an interview on the show. Hey. I'll see if I can find out. I think he's still alive. I've never heard of him. I haven't heard of him dying. But he was on for years and years. Yeah, I'll have to check. I'll check into that.
Yeah. No, that'd be awesome. That'd be really awesome.
I think this is something else that's missing. You don't have the managers like you used to.
No, I love managers too. They were my favorite. Whether it was Slick or the Grand Wizard of Wrestling or Freddie Blassie. Is your rice ready?
They were so much fun. I love those guys. By the way, was that the Wild Samoans that were on stage last night? Or maybe it was a flashback to something else. But I saw two really old Samoan guys, and they looked a lot like Afonseca.
Very good chance.
I was like, wow. It was neat seeing them. I hope that was them I saw.
How long was WrestleMania 4 was, I think, only 3 hours, though, still. Lance, they really got it over. If you actually go in and look, there isn't a friggin' match in there over 5 minutes long, except for maybe the last one, which might have been 10. They're all short matches.
Is that the one where Macho Man won?
Yes, that's the one we did our first episode on.
Yeah, he beat Ted DiBiase.
Ted DiBiase. I think that was the only match that was over 5 minutes the whole night. Yeah.
See,
no, I'm sorry. The 15-minute match was the 15-minute match, but the one that double DQ or double knockout. But yeah, for the most part, they were short. And that's pretty cool. The Wrestle Kingdom event in Japan with doing the 2 nights. There you go. Usually somebody's already done it first to try it out. A lot of the ideas they have end up coming from being blast from the past, right? All right, so the women's tag team. What you think of that?
I liked it. It was the women todayers are badass. Man, they are so athletic.
Oh, it's incredible.
I just feel like they're so much better than they were 20, 30 years ago.
The worst ones have learned the wrestling moves, and they do a really good job, put great effort. So it's Naomi and Lana versus Carmella and Billie Kay. I know who these people are, but I don't. And so Naomi and Lana lost out first, then Carmella and Billie Kay, the Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose, and then of course Tamina and Natalya. They're both second generation wrestlers. I mean, they're great. They're great.
Yeah, you were telling me it was daughters of Jimmy Snuka and Jim Neidhart.
Yeah, and Jim Neidhart. So a lot of history there, huh? A lot of history there.
Yeah, it was cool to see, especially once you told me who they were. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because
they don't use the same last names or anything.
No, I mean Natalya was always wrestled as Natty Neidhart. like up through Calgary Stampede and Indie days, and only when she come to WWE, which amazingly is like she's been around forever. She's been around like 15 years. She's been Natalia ever since. So, in the wrestling business is pretty cutthroat. That's a long time to have a job in the wrestling business. And she looks good. She does good.
Yeah. And then the winners ended up fighting the champions Sunday night, right?
Sunday night, exactly, for the belt. Which I'm going to try to find a picture when we get to that. I'll show you. It's pretty bad. So Seth Rollins and Cesaro. What you think of that match? It was okay.
Wait, which?
This was the one with the.
Just the one where he was swinging a guy around.
You got it. Cesaro's big thing. He's been around a long time too. Cesaro.
I gotta say, I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing that move. To be honest, is that? Have you seen that move much?
By Cesaro. That's
I've never seen anyone else do it. It's hilarious. I mean, it was just so comical because once he starts doing it for a while, all of a sudden he looks weird. If you just start looking at him, because he's leaning way back, and the whole thing is just so goofy. I was just laughing the whole time he was doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, what a great move. Do that, make him dizzy, then throw him. And
then if he can find his own bearings, he lays on top of them and wins. And that was the big thing. To embarrass him, he was going to spin him, and Seth Rollins was saying, "You'll never spin me," and he spun him 23 times.
You'll never spin me.
You'll never spin me. Yeah.
That was, I mean, the match was kind of goofy in that way, but I got a kick out of it. I thought it was kind of funny.
They're both, those guys are both incredibly good wrestlers. And Seth Rollins is really, really good. So is Cesaro, but I mean, I've seen Rollins have some pretty amazing matches in the past.
How do you think, do you think these guys matter whether they win or lose?
No. If they put on, well, yes and no. I mean, anything that'll keep them coming back, keep them popular, keep their names on the tips of people's tongues so people want to watch them is beneficial. And yeah, obviously by winning, you may or may not benefit, but there are situations where it's almost more beneficial to lose. Case in point, Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13. By losing that match, put him over and did exactly what Brett needed as well at that point in time. It's all in the telling of the story. So I don't think that certainly not money-wise, certainly not. It's not like there's a real winner's purse like in a boxing match type thing. They may talk about that, but I don't think it exists.
Yeah, Caber Dave was mentioning he doesn't think that move by Cesaro is easy. I can't imagine it is easy because, I mean, first of all, you got to kind of stand, you got to keep yourself centered, and that's not easy as you're swinging a 250-pound guy around.
No, that's right.
And then you got to make sure you don't make yourself dizzy and sick or you just fall over.
Yep, for sure.
And you got to be extremely strong for that. Roddy Piper and Tully Blanchard's daughters wrestle too?
I knew Tully Blanchard's daughter. She's been around a while. Roddy Piper's daughter, I'm not as familiar with. But man, yeah, because women's wrestling is growing huge, right? It's getting bigger than the men. It really is, or as big as. It's literally going 50-50, as we'll see later.
Well, I think it's way better now than it used to be. I didn't really ever. When the women came out, I was like, because it was never that interesting. Usually, it was Fabulous Moolah versus somebody because she's one of the few who are wrestling.
Velvet McIntyre. It's like,
but man, there's so many good women wrestlers. They're so fun to watch. So
next up, do you remember this one? New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. And we are messaging back and forth. Look at the size of that guy, because I'd never seen him before, right?
I saw him in something, but I mean, he wasn't wrestling. I think that was his first wrestling match, wasn't it? You know what's hilarious? When remember New Day, they were just beating up AJ Styles. They were doing everything they could to keep Omos from getting in the ring.
Yeah.
And AJ Styles would get really close to him, and he put his hand out, like this. And Omos, he had his arm out. He had it like straight out like this. Like, I mean, it's so as big as he is, it's still like 6 feet up in the air. I was like, and he was standing straight up. I was like, maybe bend. Put your arm out.
I saw the exact same thing going. He obviously tried not to touch him.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. It was like they were doing everything they could to not tag in, but I was like, maybe you guys should have worked on that one a little bit because it was just ridiculous.
Look at the size of this behemoth.
He's
Wow.
got to be like he's got to be in the storylines. Don't you think coming up, or he's going to be fighting McIntyre and Lashley, and
I'm
he's
gonna
just enormous.
I'm gonna bring up a picture here. Look at this little picture up in the corner. Can you see it? Right here.
Who is that?
Well, I don't know. No, that's not. I was thinking it popped up when I typed for this almost.
Oh, wait a minute.
That's
Rey
Mysterio.
That's like a video game, is it?
It looks like Rey Mysterio, and then this other guy with him. I thought, is that almost? But I don't think it is.
No, that's maybe like a drawing.
Here's a picture of a basketball player. Maybe he was a basketball player at one time too, right?
Oh yeah, that is him, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah, because it's just sort of coming up in my feed when I type in the name looking for pictures. That's pretty cool. What a behemoth! And that match is the New Day is always pretty good. Like I can't get over how I got reading something. I lost my train of thought. I hear it. It's done. Where was I going with that thought? Oh, the New Day. I never could get over it. They always sort of annoyed me at first, but they have been so over for so long and so hugely popular. But they do. They put on a great show. And I like them now. I don't know. They grow on you, I guess. But it's sort of sad to see this because this guy just dominated them.
I know he was enormous, but they seem like a little undersized, aren't they? Aren't they smaller than most of the wrestlers out there?
They are quite small, but AJ Styles, even though he's small, is one of the best wrestlers going. And Kofi Kingston, like AJ Styles is almost his partner, but Kofi Kingston was a champion a couple years ago. Man, he can wrestle, let me tell you that. High flyer. Yes, they're small, but they're still 230-pound men.
Oh, I know another move they do now that they didn't used to do. Like when they get up on the rope and you jump, like belly flop on someone. Well, so many wrestlers, like especially the women, they'll get up backwards and then do like a 360 and land on them. Like, why would you ever do that? I mean, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
But it adds nothing to the.
No.
I mean, it's not like you're landing harder on the person.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny. But man, there's so many of them, even the big guys jump off the top rope now.
They do. They all do.
McIntyre, I was like, oh my God, how is he doing that? It just seems way too big.
So this always sort of baffles me. Shane McMahon gets into these matches and somehow finds a way to win. I guess he did in this one. But what was your favorite part? You said one of your absolute favorite parts was in this match. What were you thinking of?
Well, they're both sitting on top.
Yeah.
And McMahon knocked Strowman down, and Strowman's like out of it. And then McMahon slowly climbs over. And you're looking at this, and he's about halfway down, and you're like, and Strowman's still just like barely getting up. And like, this is how it's going to end?
Yeah.
I couldn't figure a way that Strowman could possibly come back from this. But Strowman goes over there, and McMahon like sticks his hand through the fence to like point at him. Yeah, and then he grabs his hand, holds on, and then he just rips the cage apart and just pulls him back.
Exactly.
I thought that was so funny because I was like, how are they going to do this match? Because this is kind of a boring ending here, but I thought that was hilarious.
Frankly, at that point, I was sort of hoping just go down and end, just be done. But whatever. They had the big comeback. It was I don't know.
What's with the Shane McMahon stuff? I mean, they showed him. I guess last night he fell from the top of the cage, didn't he? Just took him through him.
Shane McMahon is Shane McMahon. He's taken some of the biggest bumps going. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. He has taken some of the biggest bumps. He's not a wrestler. Never was a wrestler, but he goes out there and does it. 51 years old, still taking these huge friggin' bumps. And he's been doing it for 15 years.
My age. There's no way I could fall from that height.
We'd still be laying there, buddy. Just plant the flowers beside us, please.
I'll give him that. I mean, yeah, he's not a very good wrestler.
Not to mention the fact of the divot we'd leave.
Yeah, the mat would be like this.
Exactly. It'd be like the Big Show could destroy a ring.
Yeah, I'll give him that. He can take a beating.
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. And to go out there and just do it on rarely, but.
And they showed one from, I don't know when it was, last year or something, where he fell from the top of the cage, but not on the mat, on the outside of the ring.
Yeah.
How does
he's done that stuff, man.
How does he not get hurt?
Well,
that's a long way to fall.
He does. So he licks his wounds for 2 months before he does anything more. I don't know, but then he's probably back on TV last night. I don't know.
He must love being in the spotlight because, if you got $1 billion, I don't know. I think I'd be finding something else to do besides having Braun Strowman throw me off the top of the cage. It just seems, it doesn't take a whole lot for you to be completely mangled up if you fall wrong.
Caper says about Dave, you're talking about Shane taking big bumps for his age. You talk about going off the cage and stuff like that. One of the worst ones, I don't know if you remember from, I can't tell you the year, but he was fighting Kurt Angle in the King of the Ring. And they get up onto the stage, and one of the moves called for him to be thrown through the glass King of the Ring sign that was beside the entrance. And Angle did backflip, but like was suplexing him through it or something like that, like a released German suplex or whatever, threw him into the glass, which was supposed to shatter. And somebody had put the wrong freaking glass in, didn't put the breakable glass in.
Oh my God.
And came right down on the back of his neck. Shane McMahon did. Like just right on the ground level, but that was one of the worst bumps because then he told Angle, throw me through the damn thing. Even though it wasn't the safety glass, Angle grabbed hold of him and just pitched him right through that freaking glass. Plexiglass. Yeah, it was brutal. I remember that clear as bell, thinking that first time when he hit that, it was obvious he was supposed to go through it and didn't. And I just went, whoa, something's wrong here. And then they literally grabbed him by the neck and just turfed him through it head first. And man, and they talk about that in various shows and stuff about that was one of the worst bumps he ever took. Worse than going off the top of the cage or Hell in a Cell onto the table. Going through that glass. They had pulling glass, shards of crap out of him and Kurt, and it was bad. They were cut all over. And anyway.
I was just thinking the same thing. Lance mentioned New Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that is some of the most brutal stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Lance, have you seen the New Jack episode of Dark Side of the Ring? Interesting one. I am not very familiar with New Jack at all, and I really, really enjoyed that episode.
Perry, I wasn't either. I wasn't either until I watched that episode of Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
I'd heard the name.
Yeah, me too.
I knew he was a wrestler, but when I saw that, I was like, that guy's nuts. He's, like dangerous.
Yes. Like, borderline insane. Yes. Borderline crazy.
Yeah, he destroyed that one poor kid who was like 17.
Yeah.
That was awful. That guy was a nut. I'm not shocked was he like blackballed?
Pretty much. He never ever wrestled top level. They wouldn't have him. They couldn't control him.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing.
A little bit, but he did have a brief, and they get rid of him right off the get go.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing with the wrestlers. I think part of it is you have to know what you're doing, and they have to know what you're going to do. Like you can't be surprised.
No,
you can't be doing that crazy stuff.
That's right. You have to work with people. So now we get to my favorite night. My favorite one of the night.
This had to be my least favorite. I mean, so to bring on a celebrity, I swear to God, I've never even heard of Bad Bunny.
No.
Before last night, didn't know who he was. So, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't know who he was. I mean, I don't know. There's no way he's a household name. like some of the other celebrities have had in the past.
No, but
he couldn't really wrestle. He couldn't really wrestle, but I mean, he was like a high flyer. I'll give him that. He was jumping off the ropes and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. But
yeah,
I mean, we were talking the other night, like you said, these matches are just kind of goofy because you know who's going to win. I mean,
yeah,
Bad Bunny's not going to come in unless he's going to win.
Right.
He's not signing up to lose. That's for sure.
Do you remember we made the comment about how you can have a good wrestler can go in and have a good match and make anybody look good? Do you remember that big flipping kind of pile driverish move that Big Bunny did to John Morrison outside the ring?
Yeah.
Just before he won? Well, yeah. John Morrison did that. Basically just got hold of Bad Bunny the right way. Jim Morrison, that's 100% Jim. Jim or John? John Morrison. Jim Morrison. No, it wasn't the Doors. John Morrison. It was 100% John doing that flip and controlling him through that. 100%. And
yeah, because Bad Bunny is the one who ended up doing the move on him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I do remember. I remember saying that to Celia. I was like, why would they let this guy do a dangerous move like that? I mean, this seems crazy to me.
The Bad Bunny is John Morrison gets hold of him, and Bad Bunny is just along for the ride. John Morrison does that flip.
Those things are so goofy because, I mean, look at the guy. I mean, any of those wrestlers out there could have just beaten him to a pulp.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, like when Mr. T was on there. I mean, he wasn't very good. You could tell he wasn't a wrestler looking at him.
Yeah. But they didn't have him part of the final decision either, did they?
No.
Right? They kind of knew better. And then it all sort of started. They'd have wrestlers in matches. They'd have boxers versus wrestlers, for example. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's clips on YouTube, and I've talked about different things before, but where Gorilla Monsoon fought Muhammad Ali. Okay? And Muhammad Ali I think Muhammad Ali jumped into the ring to start it and got chased out by Gorilla Monsoon, and then they actually had a match somewhere down the road or something like that. Anyway, long story short, Gorilla Monsoon mopped him up with him, right? There was just no ifs, ands, buts, and which is reality. And then the first big one was when Lawrence Taylor came in against Bam Bam Bigelow. And this was WrestleMania 13, the big match at the end. It was really the first time they'd had a celebrity on to really, really wrestle in a WrestleMania. And Bam Bam carried Lawrence Taylor through it. Lawrence Taylor blew up within 2 minutes. Couldn't breathe. He was so blown up. And Bam Bam Bigelow carried him through that whole match and got Lawrence Taylor the win. And you knew it was it was crazy because you could tell Lawrence Taylor couldn't do anything, but he ended up winning.
Well, there was another one where they had a bunch of, it was like a Wrestle Royal where they had a bunch of football players.
WrestleMania 2.
Yeah. And it's funny because, you look at the wrestlers, you're like, oh, this is, this stuff's kind of fake. But when you put them in with anybody else, like for a real match, the wrestler's going to win every time.
Yep.
The football players, they're not used to fighting. They're used to playing football.
A battle royal or something like that was a great gimmick to have them in because you could sort of mix it all up and who cares, right? Just throw each other off the top rope. It worked out great. But to try to put them in a real match. And then later on, about right around WrestleMania 24, 25, that Floyd Mayweather come in and wrestled the Big Show. Okay, boxer versus wrestler, and beat the Big Show. And it was the most ridiculous thing you ever saw in your life. You knew it was going to happen. It's Floyd Mayweather, for Pete's sakes. He wouldn't be there if he wasn't going to win because he's 178 pounds of ego. So it's just a waste. And this same thing with this show. They could say, I've read stuff where it's a fairly highly rated match. But I don't like celebrity matches for the most part, I guess is all I'm saying.
Did he wrestle on Raw Monday?
I don't think he wrestled. He may have been in a little bit of a brawl or something.
Okay.
Was that the one where they supposedly painted his 3.6, put spray paint on his $3.6 million Bugatti?
Well, I think that was before WrestleMania.
Was it? Oh, that was the
highlight of that.
So
I was just wondering.
I didn't watch Raw after WrestleMania.
It's like I hope they don't plan on bringing this guy back for more stuff because
No.
I mean, he's a little skinny guy. I mean, come on, he can't. It just looks ridiculous having this, skinny guy facing these big guys. Obviously, they'd crush him.
Yeah, Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone were big in WCW too. They were big on their friggin' celebrities, and of course the David Arquette fiasco, winning the championship. The Muhammad Ali versus Antonio Inoki. I vaguely remember that. I think I've seen it, and yes, it was horrible. But look at Dave's comment. I did too. I almost said, "Okay, this is the time to go get something to eat, or go check the email or something," because it's like,
that was hard to watch.
Yeah.
Oh,
anyway, that's
the match.
That crap, because really, I do think it was crap too. I really did not like that at all. I don't want to watch that stuff.
Well, the thing is, I mean, when WrestleMania started and they had Mr. T, I get why, because wrestling wasn't where it is today. They don't need celebrities. It's already mainstream. They've already passed that.
But even you can have celebrities to try to bring in people from other aspects of it. That's fine. But don't make the celebrities bigger than your talent.
Yeah, you would think that'd be a huge no-no. I mean, Mr. T wasn't a star of that.
No.
He was being helped along by Hogan.
Right. Exactly. Very well done in comparison. Now all of a sudden but that's the egos of the celebrities too.
Yeah, and helped along with by Piper and Orndorff. It's not like and when Mr. T was like wailing on him, it's like, come on, either one of those guys would destroy him in a heartbeat.
Flip him over and spank him.
Because if if you don't fight on a regular basis, and you fight someone who does fight on a regular basis, you're always going to lose. You just unless you practice at fighting, there's a good chance you're not going to win that match at all.
I agree. So let's get off that and get on to this. This was the main event of night one. And what did you think about this being the main event?
I was fine with it. I actually really wanted to see it. I was rooting for Sasha Banks. I thought she was going to win. I
agree. I couldn't have cared less who won, but I agree because I think these guys put on it. They had comments afterwards like, they naturally go, one of the best matches in the history, best main events in the history of WrestleMania. I wouldn't say it's in the top 20, but it was probably the best match of the night.
Probably.
Yeah.
It was exciting.
It was good. It was good. I'm not saying it wasn't great even, but it wasn't nearly one of the best matches of WrestleMania history.
And the tug of war with the hair, which turned into a whip of the hair, was kind of unique.
Oh my God, you guys! If you get a chance to see that little, just that little clip of I don't know if I can find it or not. Actually, I gotta try to see if I can find the whip mark on Sasha Banks.
It was amazing. I mean, you got to assume that was real because you could hear it, and I don't know how you fake a welt that fast.
But if the sound it made, it's like the sound you don't know because the sound could be fake, right?
Yeah, it could be. But when the whip mark looks like something she would needed to have maybe gone into makeup for and have something done to her, but that thing popped up as soon as she got whipped.
I don't know if this is going to work or not. Sometimes I open these, then they don't. No, it's just a little dicky picture. But we'll try it here this way.
Did you like the women's match?
What was Celia's comment? Did she like the women's match?
Yeah, she liked the women's match. She I remember her letting out a little yell when Sasha Banks got whipped with that hair.
There's no ifs, and but like they well deserved. I don't know if you can see that picture well enough. I can't really zoom in anymore. But that's a hell of a welt on the side on her side. That's after the match.
Yeah, I can't see it there, but but when it was live, you could see it, and that she got whipped right before she lost, right?
Right before she lost, yeah. And then this is right afterwards. I don't know if that's going to work or not here. No, I don't think so. But it's just a big streak right there.
So I can see it now. Yeah.
Anyway,
So you got to assume that was planned. I'm not sure if they knew it was going to hurt like that.
Yeah, that's it. But anyway, it's a wet for Pete's sakes. Oh, look at that. That actually kind of worked here. See a little bit better there, right? Yeah. Anyway.
Oh yeah, right there you can see it.
The incredible athletes, both of them. They did put on a great show. So it was enjoyable. It was a good way to finish up the night too, with the challenger winning. The good guy winning the championship at the end of the night.
How many different championships they have? Because there was another women's championship Sunday night.
Well, this was a SmackDown women's title, and then of course it was a Raw women's title the next night.
Is one more prestigious than the other?
Not really. No, it's just the two different shows, right? They used to have just the Divas title. They had the women's championship, then they had the Divas title, and then it was back to the women's championship. And I mean, but now the thing is the women's roster was about 12, 15 wrestlers, and now it's about 30 or 40. So they have two championships now again.
I also watched I watched the NXT Women's Championship like maybe a week earlier.
Yeah. Some of that was on tonight. Actually, I come home from work and Chrissy was watching NXT going, what's this one anyway? She was working away and she just had it on while she was working.
Was it the championship match for the women?
That's the starting league. So what's that?
Was it was she watching the championship match?
That was on there. I think it was, I can't remember the woman, Rachel Gonzalez or something like that.
Gonzalez versus.
She was from Tokyo, Japan.
Yeah, I can't think of her name.
What was Tokyo, Japan?
But when it was funny, my parents came over Sunday. They bought me this Cardinal book since they dropped it off and we were talking. Oh, yeah. And then they mentioned that they were watching wrestling. I was like, really? Because I didn't think you guys watched wrestling. And they were describing, they said it was a really tall woman. She's like 6 feet tall. She was fighting this little woman. She's like 5 feet tall. I said, wait a minute. Was the little woman Japanese? They go, yeah. And I was like, I just watched that too. It was just so funny because, the champion was a really good wrestler. But, I mean, it's hard to make up a foot of difference. Yeah. The other woman was just so much bigger and stronger. It's really hard to combat that if they're, a good wrestler as well.
So on the night two, without a rain delay.
Yeah, no rain delay for night two. How about that?
What you think of this one?
Wait, you haven't put it up yet.
Oh, I did. Randy Orton versus The Fiend. Oh, just lost you. So I just lost Jeff. Totally lost Jeff. Wow. That's why I didn't come up yet, because he was getting broken off. Oh, there he is. There, something happened. You got knocked right out.
I don't know what happened because I couldn't see. You put it up. I couldn't see it. It was still Lance's thing. So I don't know what happened. Okay. God, I mean, this whole storyline is new to me, but it's just the most. Anything with supernatural and wrestling to me is like, oh, come on, this is just silly.
I'll tell you, I like the premise.
See, I don't even understand it. That's the other thing I guess I don't like. I just don't know what's happening. And I thought when Alexa Bliss was sitting there and she's got the black stuff running down, and then Fiend stops and looks at her, lights go off. I'm like, okay, here we go. Now we're gonna get a big jump in the story. We're gonna figure something out. And then there was just a big pause, and they just went on. Like, I felt almost like something went wrong. Like maybe there was something that was supposed to happen, and then something malfunctioned, so they just pulled the plug on the whole thing. And it was just weird to me that it didn't make any sense. That's not a way to end a match, just turning the lights off.
Yeah, well, the match was over.
Yeah.
Right? Because St. Louis boy Randy Orton got the win.
Yeah, he did.
But I don't know. It's like, I don't think that they'll ever give an ending to the story or an explanation, maybe. But
I don't even know what was the beginning of the story. How did it start? I don't even know how it started.
No, I mean, Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton have been fighting forever, And did you know that have you followed enough to know that Bray Wyatt is the Fiend?
No, I heard that today when I was looking at some stuff because I was curious. I was like, I wonder who this is. I figured it's got to be maybe a well-known wrestler who's just taking this part.
I love the Bray Wyatt gimmick back when he was with it's sort of like the Southern religious thing, and he had the followers with the sheep's heads and stuff like that. And yeah, it was a little bizarre, and but it was really good. And him and Randy Orton had some big battles back then.
I mean, I like the Fiend. The character's cool.
Yeah,
but I don't understand the connection with Alexa Bliss. I don't get it.
I afraid that I totally missed how she got wrapped up with him. I mean, there's this thing they said, like, when she came out, it was to the theme from, what's it called? Something Funhouse, Firefly Funhouse or something like that. It's called, which is show it's like a kid show, almost like a Pee Wee Herman type show that Bray Wyatt does as Bray Wyatt, and then he's the Fiend at other times. It's really strange. It's kind of like Finn Balor being Finn Balor in one match and the Demon in the next match, a few years ago. But I haven't watched it closely enough to really know if there even is really a explainable storyline or if it's just sort of supposed to be random like that. Last year in WrestleMania, the Fiend fought John Cena, and it was totally bizarre and random in the Firefly Funhouse. If you get a chance to watch that on the channel, watch that sometime. It's really weird because instead of matches in a ring, the finale, the main events, both Saturday and Sunday night, were off-site, like filmed main events. Very strange.
So the Fiend's been around for a while.
Yeah,
I thought this was just something with Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton. Okay.
Fiend was around quite a while before Alexa Bliss came in. Yeah, and
I like that character. But you said Alexa Bliss is a wrestler, right? I've yet to see her wrestle. When's the last time she wrestled?
I don't know if she's doing this now because she got hurt or what, but she was a champion several times through. She's been wrestling for about 4 or 5 years and real big heel. But she was good.
Maybe she did get hurt because maybe that would explain the whole why they're doing this.
She is 5 foot tall and she could move. Like she'd be next to the 6 foot wrestler Charlotte Flair, giving her a good match type thing. She is really athletic.
Now, I saw a guy talking about this match this morning, and apparently the Fiend was originally supposed to win up until Friday night, and then they didn't explain why, but there was a change, and they went with Orton instead of the Fiend, and apparently had to be signed off by McMahon and somebody else, and they were fine with it. I don't know why they changed, and I don't know why there was no. Maybe that explains why that ending. Maybe they didn't have an ending for it.
Did you? You say you did watch all of Raw the next night?
No, I haven't. I didn't see it yet at all.
I can't even tell you if it's on Raw or SmackDown. Those two, to tell you the truth.
Because for Peacock, I just think it went live today.
Oh,
when I checked it, it had the wrong date on it. It's like from March. I'm like, but the one right before that was. The Raw before that was the Raw that was before WrestleMania. So I'm thinking the next one I haven't watched is probably the one from this Monday.
Here's a trivia question for you then, okay? Let's see if you knew this. Who is the Fiend's father?
Oh, man. I have no idea.
IRS. Mike
really? Erwin
R. Shyster. Mike Rotunda. That is, there's two. He had two sons who was in the WWF. Bray Wyatt, who's become the Fiend, and it's still Bray Wyatt, and Bo Dallas, I think they went by. And Bo Dallas, I can't tell you if he's not still wrestling under another name. It's not Baron Corbin, is it? No, I think that's a different person. I have a hard time keeping track of them. But anyway, yeah, the Fiend's father is Erwin R. Shyster. It's a lot of family in that business, let me tell you.
That was one of the weirdest characters. I mean, I wasn't paying attention then. I would just catch some wrestling every so often. And I see this guy come out there, IRS, all dressed up in a tie and like carrying a briefcase.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what is happening here?
See ya retro. Hey Chris. Yeah, we talking some wrestling. Wrestlemania from last weekend, buddy. Good to see ya. That perfect. Yeah, I can see that now. Yeah, you do realize you'd have to climb the ladder the whole way to the top, right? Just making sure. Was that the real reason you didn't do it?
I had a laugh when I was watching. I was watching some other match. It was a ladder match where the championship belt was up in the air, and I'm thinking I couldn't even climb this ladder. With heights, I just can't handle it. And climb that ladder, it's like, oh, yeah. These wrestlers today, they almost all have to be high flyers at this point because there's so many of these matches where they're in the air.
Go to the top of that ladder, then have somebody push it off sideways so you go over the top rope.
Nope.
Huh?
Nope, not me. Try and picture Dick the Bruiser or Dick Murdoch. Doing some of this stuff. I mean, you just didn't see stuff like that much.
Well, let's go on to the next one. This is the winner. This is for the Women's Tag Team Championship. We got 3 out of 4 second-generation wrestlers.
Nia Jax is the one that's not a second generation, right?
No.
Or no, Shayna.
Shayna Baszler, tell you the truth, I don't even know where she came from. She appeared a couple years ago. I saw her, I don't remember where I saw her the first time. She's dominant. She's nasty.
Why isn't it's Nia Jax, right?
Nia Jax.
Nia Jax. Why isn't she the champion? She's enormous.
She has been, but
she has been. Okay,
she has been in the past. They tend to chop her down. You know what I mean? Wear her out. She does better as a. She's had some weird stuff in her career, like personally, like just weirdo stuff with backstage heat and. But she's a behemoth. How could anybody really legitimately beat her? Especially you throw somebody like Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss has fought Nia Jax several times. I'm quite sure. Nia Jax as the face, and Alexa Bliss would beat her because
it's like the former champion Sasha Banks, heck of a wrestler.
Yeah,
she's like 5 feet tall.
Yeah,
she's not doing anything against Nia Jax. Nia Jax would just flatten her.
But it's all choreographed, right?
Yeah.
So
there's another woman on NXT that might give her a run for her money. I think
Bo Dallas. Wow. What the hell is I can sit. I'm looking at him right now. He didn't go by Henning. Oh, for freak's sakes. He had a dumb name, I thought. Kurt Henning's son. Haystacks. Climbs the ladder, wins Money in the Bank. Yeah, I climbed that ladder. Trouble is, I was driving the ladder down through the ring. Anyway, I'm sorry I cut you off. Who's in NXT? Is it that Gonzalez? She's huge.
Well, she just won, but there's another woman who is kind of like a smaller version of Nia Jax, but she's still pretty big. Should be hard to.
Yeah. So what were we saying? They're all a noise, right? They're all from the Samoans, from Peter Maivia, and who were we all listening? We were talking about this the other night.
You were saying that The Rock is related to the Wild Samoans, right?
Yes, The Rock's mother was married to Rocky Johnson. Rocky Johnson being from Nova Scotia, Canada, originally, right here, good old Maritime boy. And his Rocky Johnson's wife was a daughter of Chief Peter Maivia, as were the Wild Samoans, the sons of Peter Maivia. I'm quite sure that's how it worked out. Or were they?
Just blew my mind that the Rocks were related to the Wild Samoans.
Or maybe it was cousins. They're all cousins anyway. You got Yokozuna and the Samoans. The Wild Samoans are parental figures. There's sisters in there, like that's Rocky's mother. Roman Reigns is in there. Rikishi has the two sons, which are Jimmy and Jey Uso.
Roman Reigns is related to Wild Samoans as well.
Exactly. Yeah, Roman Reigns, the Usos. That's why the Jey Uso's with Roman Reigns. He's his cousin.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they're all. It's a very, very tight knit group. I'm telling you, you can find so many family relations there. You know. And,
so Wild Samoans didn't make it to WrestleMania, did they? Were they kind of gone?
They were done before then. Yeah.
Yeah. But
so I remember watching the Wild Samoans in the late 70s.
I look back at some of those guys in the late 70s and early 80s, and like, oh, it's such a shame they didn't make it to WrestleMania. Like, Wild Samoans are awesome, and like King Kong Brody, Bruiser Brody.
Yep.
Was killed in '83. So, God, he would have been such a big star in the WWF.
I agree 100%. He would have been. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he would have been in he would have been in WrestleMania.
Ernie Roth, the Grand Wizard of Wrestling. Everybody loved to hate him. He was the guy who wore like the turban around the matches all the time. Oh, he was annoying as hell. He was great as a manager. That was what managers were managers, right?
Yeah. The couple I've seen aren't, I don't know. They have absolutely no personality. It's like, I don't know. You look at Lou Albano and Fred Blassie and Mr. Fuji.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rocky Johnson went by Sweet Ebony Diamond in Mid-Atlanta. The SED.
All right. So, I don't really want to show you. Geez, I wonder if I can find that real quick. So, they say that Shayna Baszler is rough. Okay, she's tough in the ring. She's really.
That's Nia Jax's partner, right?
Yes. She's a stiff, very, very stiff in the ring. Doesn't pull a punch well. Like when she hits, she hurts. She knocked out Asuka's tooth in a match not long ago.
Jeez.
So I'm gonna see if I can find this real quick.
I'm guessing that wasn't scripted.
No.
And this is where I'm going to knock your tooth out.
So there's one point right towards the end of the match. Get in here. I'm going to try to. Oh, am I going to be able to find her? Maybe, maybe not. Search Twitter. There you go. Where Natty gets thrown into the ring and she has the running knee into.
You talking about from last night?
This is from the Sunday night match. Oh, come on. I hope I can find it. A little slow here. But anyway, she friggin' gave the full knee right in the Natty's face, eh? And did not knock out her teeth. But if I can get the picture to come up here, still trying. Everything's a little slow. Anyway, just blew the living crap out of the inside of her mouth. I may not be able to find it.
Yeah, CM Retro said something. That's kind of how I feel. He's talking about the wrestlers kind of being cookie cutter and anti-hero types that we're all black. Yeah, I do kind of feel like a lot of these wrestlers are kind of the same. I guess I like more the cartoony type wrestlers.
Okay, here we go. I got that picture up. This is Natty's mouth after the running knee.
Oof.
Ouch. That hurts. But I think she's had worse injuries, I'm quite sure.
That almost looks like something's in her lip.
Yeah, well, it basically drove her lip over her tooth.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, fun.
I love seeing wrestlers today that are from like kids of wrestlers from the 80s. It's always interesting.
Oh, yeah. All right. So what's after that one?
What was the final match?
Oh, yes. This one. You remember this one? We talked a lot about this one.
Oh, my kids hate the Paul brothers, Logan and what's his face, the other one?
Well, I don't. I've heard of this Logan Paul just because of the fiasco with the Suicide Forest in Japan, but
Yeah, I mean
my kid doesn't like him either at all.
these guys have like over 20 million subscribers. They're stinking rich.
Yeah.
I texted my son. I said, "You watching WrestleMania?" It was a joke because I know he's not watching.
Yeah.
I said, "Hey, Logan Paul's sitting ringside." I said, "He's soon to be in the ring. I'm sure." He knew that was going to happen. He didn't show up just to sit there.
Yeah. But anyway, Logan Paul aside, I thought these two put on a friggin' amazing match. I know you would, Chris.
Yeah, it was a good match.
They
There's
did those
storylines I wish I knew more about.
They did those. Well, they've been around. They started off together. They came in together back around 5 or 6 years ago, sort of out of the blue. And it's like, who the hell are these guys coming from up in Quebec, coming down here to wrestle? And they put up what they did is they wrestled with this reckless abandon style. But they didn't hurt people, and they could put on a match with each other that was absolutely crazy. Well, we get saying some of those brain busters on the friggin' apron and the Michinoku driver. There's one there where it looked like, oh my God, he broke him in half. And they sold it, but then they got right back up, kept wrestling, They did some major impact moves on each other. And Kevin Owen, for whatever reason, he's got to have a lot of respect because he is the only one who's been given permission by Stone Cold himself to do the Stone Cold Stunner as a final move. Something to be said for that, right?
That's interesting.
The kid has to be doing something that people like to be given that kind of honor, right? But you watch it, it's a stunner as a final move, and that's not by accident. He's been given permission by Stone Cold to do it. So,
does he need permission, or was that just a courtesy?
Need it if you were in an indie territory somewhere and you did it now. But when you're on the stage that they're on and you decide that you want to do somebody else's move, you don't do that, right? You would be buried in a hurry. You wouldn't be there anymore unless you had permission, and he got permission. Yeah. He's amazing. And this is not Drew McIntyre. This is not Bobby Lashley. He goes out there and he looks like he's out of the friggin' suburbs of Montreal type thing, It's like he's just a guy. Yeah, he's big, he's strong, but he's not a big behemoth bodybuilder. But those two put on amazing matches, more entertaining than Lashley and McIntyre. Would you not say, Jeff? Do you think?
Yeah, I really liked that match. It was a fun one to watch.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, one thing I miss is like most of the wrestlers, the guys are just kind of like completely hulked out.
Yeah.
Pretty big, most of them. And I kind of miss the guys like, like a King Kong Bundy. He's just a big fat guy,
Yeah.
Do you remember
Jerry Blackwell?
I was going to say, do you remember Crusher Blackwell? I was just going to say that. Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Great minds think alike.
You ever see him do a drop kick? It was incredible.
For whatever we were watching that used to be on TV here, he used to be on it all the friggin' time. But he was like built like a friggin' weeble. He's just round.
Wasn't he like 500 pounds? I mean, he was really fat. I mean, fatter than most of the fat wrestlers. But he could get up off the ground and do a drop kick, which was nuts.
That was before WWE, wasn't it? Or was it?
Oh, I watched him here in St. Louis from the NWA. I don't know where else he went, but he was definitely here. So I remember watching him thinking, when I saw him do a drop kick, I was like, how is that possible? He's just too big.
But he did it.
Didn't he have a sad ending? I think I'll have to look into him. I think he passed away early. I don't think he's still around. But I do kind of miss those guys. They're just, they're kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Especially if you try to watch someone, body slam, Blackwell. It's like, yeah, good luck. Stunning Steve. Yeah, I have seen old pictures of Steve Austin when he was first starting out. It was kind of silly.
First starting out like back in NWA WCW days, or
the
Ring
I don't know,
Master?
maybe early WWF. I can't remember, but before he had a Stone Cold persona.
Yeah, the Ring Master.
Because once he went to that, it was perfect. Everything else he did before that was kind of eh. I think he said his wife gave him that name.
Yeah. Do you remember the story behind it?
Yeah, wasn't he not doing well as far as wrestling? Like maybe he was on the verge of.
It was in the WWE, and he was trying to come up with something because the Ringmaster was the Ringmaster. It was got him started and stuff, but he was looking for something else. And his wife at the time was British, and they were having tea, and it was sitting there, and she said something along the lines of, "Drink your tea. It's going to be stone cold." And it just sort of clicked when she said it. Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that's how he got it. It was along that line. It's in his book.
Didn't Austin? Didn't he when he was ringmaster? Was it he went to McMahon? Was it and said that he just wasn't the ringmaster? And McMahon asked him, "Well, who are you?" And so that's when he was trying to figure out. Like I guess he was probably in a panic at that point. He's like,
"Yeah,
I got to come up with something before I get the boot."
Yeah.
But yeah, the Stone Cold persona was perfect. It was
he did.
He nailed it.
Oh, you're friggin' right. Yeah. This match surprised me quite a bit just because I didn't know who the blazes this Riddle guy was. I thought, who the hell is this?
Well, I've seen some clips of him where he's like riding a scooter and
he rode a scooter to the ring here
and talking like he was in the I don't know.
Hey,
it doesn't
bro.
seem like it's current time. It's just
Fast Times Ridgemont High.
Yeah, it was like an 80s type character. It's like such a weird thing. And I'm like, how is he champion of anything? But he was a MMA fighter, right?
Yes, he was. Yep.
So he's got to be tough.
Friggin' right. Do you know how old? Okay, I saw pictures of him. We were watching him in the ring, and Christian and I were talking. Like, who is this guy? I said, I don't know, but I kind of like the way he's wrestling and stuff. Like, I really enjoyed his wrestle style. So I got to look at some stuff up. Do you know how old he is? He looks about 18. He's 35.
I was going to say 28, so I was way off. So, yeah, he does look young.
3 kids, 35 years old, wrestled in MMA for like several years, has lots of fights, had a good record in MMA. And that's part of the reason he wrestles barefoot and stuff like that. But I thought his wrestling was excellent because Sheamus isn't all that strong wrestling. He's a banger and a thrasher, and he made him have a pretty good match. I wanted him to win, though, but he didn't. But still.
I was watching something else today where apparently they said Riddle was never supposed to be a champion. There was some kind of a weird mix-up, and somehow he had ended up being crowned the champion. I can't remember what was going on at the time, but it was basically they said they were looking for a way to get him out. They didn't really want him as champion anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess he didn't have much of a chance.
Usually, I could see that too, just the way they work. So, because he's not your typical champion, like you're saying. How could he be the champion of anything? Well, he could wrestle, but some of the stuff doesn't really work.
Lance just mentioned Kamala, the Ugandan giant.
Oh, where's that?
Up about 4 or 5.
Oh, yeah.
Like King Kong Bunny, Kamala.
Yeah. What was his name? James Harris? He just passed away, yeah?
Yeah, he did.
Kamala, yeah. He had lost both of his legs to diabetes and passed away within the last 6 months or so.
When I watched him, he was, I think, in Texas, and his manager was Friday. It was a guy with like a pith helmet.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But in the WWE, wasn't it one of the other managers, like Fuji or somebody who?
Oh, brother.
I don't think it was Friday anymore.
Kimchi. They called his manager Kimchi, and he had a mask, wrestling mask, and a pith helmet. And then he also had other manager on top of that, which might have been Bobby the Brain for a while.
Now, you said Kim Chi, but I knew him as Friday.
Well, they changed, right?
But that's what it was. He was a little skinny guy. He had a mask and the pith helmet on top of that.
Yeah. There was a guy, they called him Kimchi, which kimchi is friggin' Korean coleslaw. So I don't know how to believe it worked with the.
I don't know what the connection was there, but I always liked Kamala. I like him to come out and he would slap his stomach.
This tea is stone cold. Yeah, Chris has heard the story as well. Yeah, for sure. I've read it. It's a great book. I loved his book, Stone Cold. I was not a Stone Cold fan at the time. I've become a Stone Cold fan since he stopped wrestling, frankly, because I was a bit too much of a mark and just didn't like him. But truth be known, he was one of the most well-liked and respected guys in the dressing room, and a very, very honorable person in the dressing room. So you hear about those sort of things later on after it's all said and done, and you get to appreciate them more.
That's also what's interesting about his show. They do talk about stuff like that.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Him and Brat talking yesterday. I watched that. I turned that on thinking, this one might be good. And then it's like fixated for like 90 minutes because it's just so damn interesting them telling the stories about what's really going on, because you just don't know how, when the screw job went down, how Stone Cold reacted, how Undertaker reacted, all this stuff. They were all lost it. They were all royally pissed. And it was wild. Anyway, that's we could almost have another whole show about that. I don't know. Do you remember watching it? Were you watching it then at all? The screw job? I was watching it big.
No, because when that story was on Dark Side of the Ring, I didn't know it. I mean, I did watch some during the era of Bret Hart.
Yeah.
And Owen Hart. I remember and Jim Neidhart.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch. I mean, I wasn't watching every week. I'd watch every so often. So I knew who they all were, but I completely missed out on that whole story. So that was interesting to see that, because I didn't know anything about it.
Well, you would enjoy that interview. I'm telling you, man, you're gonna like it.
Dark Side of the Ring starts up in May, right?
Yes, it does. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Sometime in May. So very, very soon, like early May too, I think.
They've gone back with the old ones, and they've had they do interviews, I think, kind of mixed in. Because they've been popping up on my DVR as new, but they're not really new. It's the old shows with some new interview type stuff mixed in with the guys doing the show, I think.
It was so neat because when COVID first started, my son came home from Halifax, and that was when season 2 came on. It was just starting, and he and I have gone to see we've gone to see wrestling lots, like live shows and stuff, and we're into it. He liked it, and it was just sort of neat because he is so into it with the creator Jason Eisner being a graduate from the same program that he just graduated from, and it was really neat that that was when we were all really locked down last March or whatever when it came on, and every week we look forward to that show coming on at like 11 o'clock at night. It would debut on Crave, and we'd watch it every week. So that was special too. Just a little side, but I'm really looking forward to seeing it this time too. And he's quite
excited. It's a great show.
Although we won't be able to watch it together this time, but at the same time, maybe we'll both be sitting there and watch it, and we'll just have FaceTime, whatever. The world's a smaller place nowadays. As
you can Skype and watch it together, or StreamYard and watch it together.
Friggin' right, yeah, easily, yeah. Where else would a guy from St. Louis Wrestling Club and Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling have a show to talk about wrestling on a Tuesday night, right?
Who would have thunk it?
Who would have thunk it? Next up, Apollo Crews versus Big E, WWE Intercontinental Championship Nigerian drum match.
As soon as they came out and I saw the setup, I saw that gong, I told Silly, I said, that gong is going upside somebody's head before the night is over.
Yeah, really.
I'm kind of disappointed. They took it off. One of them, I think it was Big E, took it off.
Yeah,
and ended up not being able to use it. I was really hoping for maybe someone to put him in a headlock and come running and just throw him right in head first into the gong so you could hear the sound. That would have been
missed beautiful. Opportunity, man. Missed opportunity.
All those drums, they could have just bash him right over the head and they'd have the
Yeah.
drum on his head. It'd be perfect.
They didn't do any of it.
No.
No, complete and utter friggin' the complete and utter loss of it was not very good. I don't know. Intercontinental title to me is one of the most prestigious titles. I love it. This just sort of seems to be very, very secondary nowadays.
One of my all-time favorite wrestlers, Don Morocco.
Yeah,
the intercontinental champion for a long time.
Yeah,
one
of the very first.
One of the things that drives me crazy on some wrestling stuff is when they have these no disqualification. So basically, you can do what Apollo Crews did. Just have someone come in, beat the guy up, and then you pin him.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy because it's just such a goofy thing. Because why didn't Big E have someone? I mean, why doesn't both wrestlers just have a bunch of guys that are ready to go?
That's it. Yeah, 100%.
No disqualification.
I'd call it a dud, that match myself. Didn't enjoy it.
No, it was nothing worth watching, really.
This one, on the other hand, was pretty good, I thought.
This was good.
Now, I had seen Rhea Ripley only, I think, last year in WrestleMania. She fought Charlotte Flair or something like that. And did a great job. Like, put on a great match with Charlotte Flair. And I had heard a couple weeks ahead of time before WrestleMania that Charlotte Flair wasn't going to be in WrestleMania for a specific reason. But I don't remember why. I don't think I ever actually heard why she wasn't there.
I've barely seen her even wrestle.
What's that?
I've hardly even seen her wrestle. I want to see her wrestle so I can.
No, she's good.
Yeah, I mean, based off her dad, I'd really like to see her wrestle at some point. Who are some of the best intercontinental champions? Pedro Morales was champion for a long time, was he?
Yeah.
And Don Morocco was champion for quite a bit.
Pedro Morales was one of the very first to hold both. Well, it might have been the very first to hold both the heavyweight championship and the Intercontinental Championship.
Wow.
Probably the tag team championship as well. There haven't been very many.
Yep.
There probably been a ton of them now. But back in those days,
Jimmy Snuka never won a championship of any kind, did he?
Not that I'm aware of.
Heavyweight, and I don't think he was ever Intercontinental champion.
I don't think he was either. He may have been tag team at one time or another.
I'm always surprised. I wonder why they didn't, when they had their big feud, Snuka and Morocco. It was so good. I wonder why they didn't have Snuka win once just so Morocco could come back to try to win it. Seemed like that would be a natural.
Now, I've often said that you finally see the guy you like win or lose or whatever. You think, oh, he's going to come back, get it back. But they never do. It just goes on to somebody else, these lower championships especially. You know what I mean? It just always seems to carry on.
Oh, boy, here's a list of them. Honky Tonk Man, Tito Santana, Macho Man, Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah. Edge, Christian, Chris Jericho, one of the best Intercontinental champions of all time. Seems to me he's won the most Intercontinental championships of anybody. Chris Jericho. Bret Hart, Roddy Piper. I'm just listing Canadians, right?
When in doubt, just name some Canadians, people.
That's a coincidence. Rene Dupree.
Hey, what was the match last night where it was two guys from Montreal fighting?
Sami Zayn versus
That
Kevin
was
Owens.
okay.
Yeah.
With Logan Paul.
With Logan Paul. Yeah. Logan Paul, not Canadian.
I'll give you that one. I guess he's not. I don't really know. Lance made a good point. Couldn't trust Snuka because of his drug problem.
You know what? That was something to do with it. That was definitely.
I wouldn't doubt that has a lot to do with a lot of this stuff. If they got a personal problem.
Again, behind the scenes stuff, so you don't see it.
Yeah, if they're not. I mean, if McMahon or whoever's running it doesn't trust the person, he's probably never going to be a champion. Wouldn't it be fun to be one of these to be a writer for wrestling, trying to come up with storylines?
Yeah.
That'd be a blast.
Hey, Chris, Jericho is one of the best of all time. He's top 5 to me. We talked about it a bit earlier, I think, probably before you logged on, maybe. But if you have not got a chance to watch the latest Stone Cold sessions, what do they call? Hold it. What is it? What is
Broken Skull Sessions?
Broken Skull Sessions with Stone Cold interviewing Chris Jericho. Man, watch it. It's good. I've got to watch the last few minutes of it yet. I saw my tape cut off, but it's just come on, and it's really, really good. And Vince McMahon gave special permission to allow him to do it. So they go full bore. I'll tell you, Jericho has nothing bad to say about WWE. He just talks about why he went where he went when he went there. So, yeah, very interesting. And look at this comment, very special. Lance Storm, named Canadian guys too. Damn right there. Lance Storm was a great wrestler, let me tell you. I liked him. He still runs a wrestling school out in Calgary. Well, I guess we're down to the last match. What did you think about the main event?
Well, it's pretty interesting. It cracked me up when Edge was putting everyone's head on a chair, and he was grabbing another chair to smash him, and it was called a concerto.
You don't remember that before?
No, I never heard that before.
That was way back in the day. Yeah,
because I don't. I mean, was it something that Edge used to do, or somebody else?
Edge and Christian used to do it.
Okay, so I pretty much missed their careers, I guess. But I also I thought it was funny. But I also thought, I was laughing so hard when Edge had Reigns in a submission hold, and then Daniel Bryan came up, and he also put him in a submission hold. So now you have two guys. I've never even seen that before. I thought that was pretty funny.
So if he taps out, who wins?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, what's the point of this? Because, who gets the victory here? But then the funniest part was when they just started headbutting each other, trying to get the other one away.
yes. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
God, it was so funny. It was an entertaining match. It was.
It was good. The only thing I'm going to say about it is if Roman Reigns is in the damn match, Roman Reigns is going to win the damn match, and I'm sick of that. That's all, And a lot of people feel that way. It's like afterwards, Roman Reigns won. Oh, okay, let's go home. But they've done that now for 5-6 years, so I don't know.
Now, how new is this Universal Championship? Because that's new to me.
4 or 5 years, I'll say. It's been around for a while now. Yeah, not a real long time, but.
Are the TV championship stuff, is that gone? I remember there used to be like a TV championship.
Yeah,
that doesn't apply anymore.
No, I don't. Excuse me. When was the last time I saw a TV championship? Might have been WCW or Georgia Championship Wrestling or something like that. They used to have it like Brian Pillman, the TV champion. It's like, what the hell's that? But I do remember those titles.
I know I was going to mention earlier, especially with the tag team or where they have multiple people in. What's really funny is some people just they'll get beaten up and then they're thrown out of the ring, and they'll be out of the match for 5 minutes. You forget they're even there. It was happening with one of those tag team matches. One of the women were just gone for it was a good 5 minutes. Yeah, and I was like, is she literally just laying on the ground the whole time?
That was Natalia was fighting. Because I can remember hearing them say it. The comment the announcers made was, well, Natalia is fighting this one alone now for the rest of the match. So how's she going to be able to stand in there against Baylor and Nia Jax? And it's like they're fighting the battle. And finally they pick on her. They pick her up and slam her down, tag her. And then Tamina jumps on top. And she was almost late. She was late. The referee stopped the 3 count.
Yes.
About right here. And then Tamina come in. So...
I noticed that more than once last night where on some of those counts, I think either the ref held up but it's kind of noticeable. You could see it on some of them. It's pretty funny when a wrestler's late or maybe they're even late trying to kick out. And so that ref, because the ref has to be in on it, he's got to know who's the winner.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God, Christian was a great heel. Captain Charisma. I love that gimmick too. That was really good. I like Christian. Edge was so damn good that it overwhelmed Christian a little bit. Christian was a damn fine wrestler as well, and just didn't get quite as much credit because he was the lesser of the two. Edge was so good.
Shame on the ref.
Yeah, that's what I've always thought too. You know, that's why I sit right there in the front row going, "Ref, what are you doing? Don't you see that?" Oh my God, that's more fun than watching the matches sometimes, watching the people reacting and getting all worked up over it. The old days when they used to have the little arena in town, there'd be 500 people there watching it. And there was a certain people that when you went in and you went up to your seat, looked around, and there was always the same 20 people who were right around the ring getting all worked up. And oh my God, they're so much more entertaining than the.
There's usually an old lady in the crowd who, if the wrestler came by, she'd start smacking him with her purse like Ruth Buzzy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's about it. Yeah.
I want that to be me.
I can remember the one lady who's actually an indirect relative who used to be front row every match, and you could hear that woman scream and holler. She was a large woman. She sat right front and center every match, and she'd holler, and she had the type of voice and presence that would get the wrestler's attention. So every match, she would be in a shouting contest with the heel, and the heels would friggin' lap it right up because they loved it. It was perfect for them. It was just what they wanted, because between them bantering with her would get the entire crowd into a frenzy. So it made for fantastic shows. They loved having her there.
You know, you're talking about being late. The rest was kind of late on that one pin. I did notice on one time last night, and you see it every so often, where when a guy slammed into the ground, and they're not exactly where they're supposed to be because the wrestler, the other guy, is supposed to climb on the rope and jump. So you'll see the guy on the ground kind of scoot.
Yeah, yeah,
just a little bit.
Yeah,
just to make sure they're in the right spot.
You know, one thing I noticed, I watched that as well, that was a little bit different, is they have a lot more cuts now, the filming cuts. Like, there used to be enough. Like, they cut away when the punch was going in. You always let the punch get about to right here, and then it changed camera angle, so you couldn't really tell if, you know. But now, no matter what's going on, 3 seconds in one camera is about as long as they leave it, and it switches to another camera. It's always bouncing around. There's no way you could follow. If there's a mistake made, it's hard to tell. So, kind of neat, really. It's smart, but it almost makes you nauseous trying to watch it.
Hey, look at CM Retro just said about TeePublic.
Oh, I missed it. There we go. Started a TeePublic. Oh, right on. And they shut your account down. What the hell? Oh. That's really weird.
So they reopened it, but I wonder why they shut it down.
Well,
I've never heard of an account being shut down, especially not a new one.
I'll have to go on and take a look. Get myself a CM Retro shirt. The J-Lo shirt that you're wearing now, that's not a TeePublic one, is it? Where did you get that one? Right from Jen herself? Like, I'm expecting him to talk back to me, right? Might as well just keep talking while he's typing in his answer, maybe. No, but overall, I found it was really entertaining, and it's like kind of scared me because I don't want to get right back into it, but at the same time, I want to know. Jen sent on that one. I want to watch it enough to understand when I watch these big pay-per-views that I'll understand. Like I say, understand the storylines a little bit, but it takes a big investment in time. There's so much of it nowadays, and frankly, I'd still rather watch the old stuff than the new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I had fun. I'm not, and I'm trying to watch a little bit some of the older stuff. I mean, older current stuff so I'm trying to figure out what the heck some of these storylines are.
Right. Yeah.
But I think there's enough pay-per-view stuff where you could probably just watch the big events throughout the year.
No, I agree. Well, geez, what's the next one? May 16th is the next pay-per-view now, right? So it's barely 3 weeks away. Well, no, hold on. What's that? A month away. It's a month away.
Which one? What one's that called? What's that
Oh,
called?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I just remembered the date. I saw it just today that the next one was May 16th.
Hey, Sam Retro, what's your account name on TeePublic? I don't see it.
Oh, he's looking for it now. Yeah. Hey, how you doing, Nick?
Hey, Nick's here.
What's happening, man?
Nick, do you watch wrestling? Did you see
Wrestlemania.
Wrestlemania.
Backlash is next. That's what
there we go.
Caper said. I have not. I have to. I have not watched it. It's on Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday night's their regular show. I don't even know where it's shown here in Canada, what channel it's on, but it is available. And I got to watch some of it because I love Jericho, and a lot of the guys he's talking about know who they are, and I just want to start watching it. I don't know, but I've not watched any of it up till now. Yeah, same with us. Like we're saying, I've not watched it a lot in recent years, but I watched it significantly for 20 years, like through the 80s, right up to about 2010. I was all over it. Yeah, AEW. Sorry, Jeff.
I watched from like the mid 70s to the mid 90s. So yeah, it was like 20 years for me.
Yeah. 9 p.m. Atlantic time. Right on. What channel is it on, Caper Dave? On TSN?
Can we watch that live on Peacock?
I don't see AEW is not going to be part of that. Is not going to be part of that other deal, but it'd be on whatever channel it's on. Oh, shoot! I heard TNT. It's on TNT, I think, in the States. Yeah, I've got a lot of those. Almost all of them.
Those DVDs would be fun to watch.
Yeah, I've got almost all of them. Time do we got here? 11:02. Papa Pete time. Well, a couple guys just popped in, but I think we've been going for about 2 hours here. That I really did. Overall, I enjoyed it. It was well worth the watch both nights. I enjoyed it. WrestleMania, and I'm not going to hesitate to watch the next pay-per-view. I'll put it on and watch it while I do some work or whatever. I've been watching them now and again. Very glad I got back the channel, the network. Here in Canada, for those of you who don't know, it's not on Peacock, but it costs us a little bit more. But we can still get the actual WWE network on our computers and, of course, through our cable provider. For whatever
reason, just for Canada?
What's that?
Is that just for Canada that you can get the WWE network still?
The rest of the world. It's only the Peacock is only in the USA, right?
Oh,
the rest of the world is still WWE network. Whatever way it was before. But this is the weird thing is I have the WWE app on my Apple TV and my iPhone, and I tried to get it working, and it wouldn't recognize my sign in. And I went to the online help, and I got a chat, and they come back and said that right now the apps on Apple products are disabled. Very bizarre, but that they will be back in the future. Something to do with the Peacock switchover, I'm sure.
Interesting. Oh, by the way, I got a message about 2 minutes ago that my computer is restarting in 5 minutes. And it didn't give me an option to delay it.
It did give you an option?
No, it did not.
It just did not.
It is restarting in 5 minutes. That was about 2+ minutes ago.
How the blazes does that work?
I don't know. It's a Mac. It's something built in. I don't know.
Very frustrating. Well, I guess that's our cue then, really.
I just want to let you know in case I go blank. That's why. My computer restarted on me.
Well, we've just hit the 2 hour mark, so that's one way to end the stream is right, Nick. You're not kidding. Okay, well, thanks a lot for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it. TSN has AEW online streaming. Oh, right on. I'll check that out. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Wrestling Video Games and Retro Adventures. What we're going to talk about, I'm not sure. Maybe we'll go back into something more local in the past. We've had some ideas. And then next Tuesday night, I don't know what I'm going to have yet. I've had everything from a little bit of streaming of Circus Convoy. What was it? I did the 125 preview. I'm not going to have one of those ready by next week. Or maybe we'll have an interview with somebody between now and then. Anyway, guys, thanks, Jeff, once again for joining me and being here tonight. A lot of fun.
It's fun, yeah.
I enjoyed watching chatting back and forth, watching the event the other night too. It was great.
Yeah, it's fun kind of getting back into wrestling.
Yeah, right on. Anyway, so how about tomorrow night? What's on the plate tomorrow night on the Gogamego channel, Jeff?
Open chat, and I'm not sure. We also have a interview this Sunday with the guys from Level 857.
Oh, yes.
So we both were on at the same time on Wednesday, so we can't do an interview with them then. So we'll be interviewing them Sunday, open chat, Wednesday, and then movie night, maybe not next week, but the week after. And we still have our sitcom matchups we were going to do.
That's going to be fun.
I was working on it right before we went live.
Yeah. And Lance, did you see my list? And to see my list, I sent it out a little while ago, just before we started. I sent it to all you guys, my list of my 64 that we're going to start with. So those of you who don't know what we're talking about, we're doing like a March Madness bracket. And we did it for Amico games, and we get the idea. We love talking about sitcoms. So we're looking at sitcoms, and we're going to do sitcoms, stars, who knows what we're going to do on the Go Game Go channel. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And other than the streams next week, I've got about 4 pickup videos in the can. I've also got a couple of other videos that are reply videos about old retro games that I still like to play today and such. So I'll have a few things coming out over the next couple of weeks on the channel that aren't streams as well. And just to give you a little sneak preview, Jeff hasn't even seen this yet, but it's sort of special. I got it for Jeff. You know, I had to pick it up, and so that's all I'll show you. But we got a little bit more of that to deal with.
I don't even know what it is.
Huh?
2001 Space Odyssey. I don't even know what it is. Oh man.
So that's a sneak peek.
My favorite movie.
The favorite movie of Jeff from Go Game Go. 2001 A Space Odyssey. What was it? I can't remember how the catchphrase goes now. Hal. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. A lot of fun as always. We will see you next time. Take care.